Hey, we were just talking while we were listening to that Norchad O'Meara conversation about Jim Larinaga. I mean, here this guy is at the age of 73, Elite Eight last year, a Final Four this year, 17 years ago to the day that he does it with George Mason. What does that tell you about his evolution? And he gets his shot at Miami, and he's made the absolute most of it. And it hasn't come without obstacles that prove to be unnecessary and out of bounds. But still, it's come with hurdles. Randolph, what have you made of Coach Larinaga and what he's been able to do with the Miami Hurricanes?
Well, it's impressive, one, because he's a hell of a coach, and two, Miami was considered, just football, and they didn't get great crowds even with basketball at a certain point, and he's gotten that thing going. He's overcome the FBI sting, and people don't realize that program was rolling. I mean, they were rolling along, and then when FBI incident came along, they struggled. I think it cost them as much as anybody of those programs of where they were. If you go back and look at where they were at the time, I don't know if anybody struggled or fell off more than Miami did. And then that team they're right back there. And credit to Coach L, man. He's one of the good guys in the business, really good guy, and I'm just happy for him. I mean, I know people talk about the league in itself, but I'm really happy for him. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, he's the best. I mean, when you sat next to him recruiting, didn't matter if you had a University of Florida polo on, Chattanooga, UMass, FAU, whatever it was, the stops that I've been along the way, he would just talk your ear off, and he'd pick your brain and just want to talk hoops, tell his story. And it's just so impressive. And that's, like RC said, he's one of the good guys in this business. Here's the other thing, too, about Miami. Everyone knocks the transfer portal and how much it's changed college basketball. He's been taking transfers since he's been at Miami, and taking good transfers. And it's always been kind of the staple of their program, and a reason that they've been able to be so successful. Now obviously they don't have to sit out, but you look at a guy like Jordan Miller, who transferred in from George Mason. I mean, he is what a year he's having, what a performance he had the other night. But he's Coach L, since he's been at Miami, that's what he's done. He's taken transfers, and they've had a lot of success. And like, Fantha, you said, overcome obstacles. The whole FBI deal, the fact that Coach L's still doing it at 73 years old and doing it at this level and having fun. I mean, you look at the celebrations in a locker room, like that stuff's not fake. That's not an act. That's Coach L having fun. And that's what makes him great. He is just a ball coach that, you look at just South Florida in terms of basketball in general. And I don't think, probably LeBron James coming to the Heat was the most fun, that's the most exciting basketball in South Florida has been. And now you got two programs in the Final Four. And, oh, by the way, another one just won a national championship in Division II in Nova Southeastern. So, man, South Florida basketball, forget the Heat right now. It's rolling. Forget the Heat.
He said this today at his media availability, and it struck me. He goes, look, we've picked up transfers. He said, we were one of only 9. There's 363 programs in college basketball. He said, we were one of only 9 that didn't have a kid transfer out last year. How about that? He's really gotten a mix of players that's just worked. And that really did strike me, Randolph Childress.
Hey, man, it's hard to leave Miami.
That's true too.
I don't care how old you are. If you're 17 or 73, brother, it's hard to leave Miami. I got to have a hell of a lot of reasons to get out of Miami, boy. You got that bag better be serious.
That's great.
And to me, and I'm curious to get both your thoughts. Like all throughout yesterday's game, even when Texas goes up 13, I'm like, man, Texas is shooting the crap out of the ball. I mean, they could not miss for a period of time. And you're sitting there saying, is this going to be the whole game, which it could have been? Or at any point, are they going to show a lull? Because I'll tell you what, it's one of the rare times where a team was leading by 13 and they weren't playing their style of game. Miami controlled the way. It was a playground game from the start. And Randolph, that's kind of the likability factor with Larinaga, in my opinion, is he lets his guys hoop. He lets them do their thing. And they're the type of team, they have great recognition, right? of who that hot hand is, and they say, you know what? Let's go to him.
Give him the ball. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They got so many guys that can do it. I mean, that's the difference. I mean, who do you focus on? You can focus. You can't focus on one guy. There's too many ways to initiate the offense. They're gonna pick matchups, and they attack you. I think the most underrated thing that they do, because everybody is watching and thinking that they're beating you from the 3-point line, they're controlling the paint. They're just doing it off the dribble.
Yeah.
You know, they're not running all, like you said, they're not running these exotic sets. They just got so many guys that can beat you off the bounce. They're a really good passing team. They got so many guys out there that's passing. They're unselfish. The ball's popping, it's moving, and they're breaking you down off the dribble. And it's just fun to watch. If you watch those guys play, you really enjoy the game of basketball.
And like RC said too, like, listen, Isaiah Wong can have a bad game. He's the ACC Player of the Year, and they still find ways to win.
Yep.
That's how unselfish they are. That's how they play. You know, I even got caught up in this as a young head coach. You know, man, we got to run all these different plays. We got to run all these different sets. No, let your players be players. Let them be players. Give them a couple concepts and let them go out there. Don't overcomplicate it. Let them go out there and execute the concepts that you have put in. And that's what Miami does. And that's why they're sitting where they are. I mean, they've got an ACC championship in their back pocket, and they're in the Final Four and 2 wins away from a national championship for the first time in school history. Think about that too. Miami basketball being in the Final Four is the first time in school history. That's amazing.
3 first-time Final Four programs for the first time since 1970.
Today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can get a little extra sweat during March Madness and win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's games. In pick'em, all you do is predict whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether that's points, rebounds, whatever. For example, if you're like me and you think Zach Edey is going to go nuts in this tournament, pick higher on his points projection, add up to 4 more picks, and if you hit them all, you can win 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured it out. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, F-I-E-L-D, and Underdog will match your deposit up to $100. Now is the time to get in on the madness. So remember, UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code FIELD.